Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so sing this song again. We're doing Arana. I'm writing up the words for another nice one called Jagannath Ashtika. It's all about Lord Jagannath, but it's not ready quite yet. So we'll start here. Adi-lila Aruna Pura Bhavaje Twijamani Gora Amani Jage Vakata Sambuha Loya Sate Kela Nagara Braje Tattai Tattai Bhajalako Gana gana tahe chandero. Premi dala dala sonara anga charane nupura bhaje. Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari Bolena Bolore Vadana Bore. Vicheni da Bashe Gelo Re Rati Divasa Sharira Saje. Emana Durlabha Manava Deho Payaki Koro Bhavana Keho. Ebina Bajile Yashoda Sutta Charame Puri Velaje. Udita tapana hoile asta, dina gela vole hoi me vyasta. Tabe keno kebe alasa hoi, na baja hridoya raje. Jivana alita jana hasar, tahena navida viparavar. Namashraya kori jatane tu vitakaha apana kaje. Jivara kalyana sadhana kam, jagate asi e madhuryanam. Avidyate miratapana rupe hridgagane viraje. Krishna nama Shurakori apan, Jarayo Bhakti Vinoda Pran. Nama bina kichu nahiko arucho rabhuvana maje. When a tinge of red on the eastern horizon heralded the sunrise, the jewel of the twice-born, Lord Gaura Sundar, immediately awakened. Taking his devotees with him, he went all over the countryside, visiting towns and villages of Nadia. The mridangas resounded, tat-tai, tat-tai, and the cymbals chimed in time, and Lord Gauranga's footbells jingled as his golden form trembled slightly in ecstatic love of God. Lord Chaitanya called out to the townsfolk, "You spend your nights uselessly sleeping and your days decorating your bodies. Now just fill your mouths with the vibration of the holy names, Mukunda, Madhava, Yadava, Hari, chanting without offense." You have achieved the rare human body. Don't you care for this gift? If you do not serve the darling of Yashoda now, great sorrow awaits you at death. Each time the sun rises and sets, a day passes and is lost. Then why do you remain idle and refuse to serve the Lord of the heart? Understand this essential fact. Life is temporary and full of all kinds of miseries. So take shelter of the holy name as your only business. Desiring to bless all souls, the sweet name of Krishna has descended to the material world and now shines like the sun in the sky of the heart, destroying the darkness of ignorance. Drink the pure nectar of the holy name of Krishna and thus satisfy the soul of Bhakti Vinod. There is nothing but the holy name within all the 14 worlds. So we're continuing with our reading from the Sri Caitanya-caritamrita. It's Adi-lila, chapter 1. We're in text 68 now. The chapter is called The Spiritual Master. Dui rupe haya bhagavan era prakash ekita prakasha haya arata vilas. The Supreme Personality of Godhead exhibits himself in two kinds of forms, prakash and vilas. The Supreme Lord expands his personal forms in two primary categories. The prakash forms are manifested by Lord Krishna for his pastimes, and their features are exactly like his. When Lord Krishna married 16,000 queens in Dwarka, he did so in 16,000 prakash expansions. Similarly, during the rasa dance, he expanded himself in identical prakash forms to dance beside each and every gopi simultaneously. When the Lord manifests his vilas expansions, however, they are all somewhat different in their bodily features. Lord Balaram is the first vilas expansion of Lord Krishna, and the four-handed Narayan forms in Vaikuntha expand for Balaram. There is no difference between the bodily forms of Sri Krishna and Balaram, except that their bodily colors are different. Similarly, Sri Narayan in Vaikuntha has four hands, whereas Krishna has only two. The expansions of the Lord who manifests such bodily differences are known as vilas vigrahas. Vigraha means like form. So vilas vigraha means vilas means there's some slight difference, like between Krishna and Balaram, or Krishna and Vishnu. And prakash means that they're identical. And the purport mentions the rasa dance. So Krishna was dancing at night so many times, eternally, with all the gopis. And of course every gopi wanted to be with Krishna. And so Krishna actually expanded himself into, I don't know how many gopis were there, hundreds, thousands. I don't remember a number being given. But they're all there, and Krishna expanded himself into that many Krishnas, that many forms, and each gopi, as far as she was concerned, she was dancing with Krishna alone. They didn't see hundreds of Krishnas there in the rasa dance. Every gopi was very satisfied, feeling that she was alone with Krishna during the rasa dance, even though he was actually with all of them simultaneously. So that's prakash, expansion. Or Krishna in Dwarka, when he had 16,000 wives, they all lived in separate palaces. They were all engaged in different activities. but the form of Krishna was the same. And when Krishna, and this is in Dwarka, so when Krishna in the morning would leave the palaces, and go to the assembly house, because he would, he was a king, so he had to have meetings with his leaders and assistants there in Dwarka. So he would leave the palace, 16,000 palaces, and at some point outside, all these forms of Krishna would just become one again, and he would be there as one Krishna, and having these meetings with everyone else. And then at night, or when he would go back to the palace, he'd expand himself again and be alone with each one of his queens. Okay. So this is Krishna. Okay. Chitrang bataitad ekena vapusha yugapat pratak Viheshu Tvashta Sahasram Striya Eka Udavahat. It is astounding that Lord Shri Krishna, who is one without a second, expanded himself in 16,000 similar forms to marry 16,000 queens in their respective homes. Purport. This verse is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 69th chapter, 2nd verse. Next verse. Rastotsava sampravrito gopi mandala manditaha yogeshwarena krishnena tashan madhye dvayo. When Lord Krishna, surrounded by groups of cowherd boys, began the festivities of the rasa dance, the Lord of all mystic powers placed himself between two girls. Purport. This verse is also quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 33rd chapter, 3rd verse. Pravishtena grihitanang kante swadikatang shriyaha yang manyeran nabastavad vimana shatasankulam zivukshanang sadaranam atyotsukya britanmadam tato Nandu vayo ledur nipetu pushpa ritayaha. When the cowherd girls and Krishna thus joined together, each girl thought that Krishna was dearly embracing her alone. To behold this wonderful pastime of the Lord's, the denizens of heaven and their wives, all very eager to see the dance, flew in the sky in their hundreds of airplanes. They showered flowers and beat sweetly on drums. This is another quotation from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 33rd chapter, verses 3 and 4. So when Krishna performed these wonderful pastimes, the demigods were all flying over. But the airplanes don't make noise. You can imagine if hundreds of our modern airplanes were above the rasa dance, it would be a horrible disturbance, even one airplane. But the demigods' airplanes are of a different nature, and they don't make any sound. They fly by a mantra. Anekatra prakatata Rupa Shayakshaya Yaikada Sarvata Tat Sarupaiva Saprakasha Irityate. If innumerable forms, all equal in their features, are displayed simultaneously, such forms are called Prakash, Vigrahas of the Lord. Purport. This is a quotation from the Lagu Bhagavatamrita, compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami. Eka I Vigraha Eka I Vigraha Kintu Akare Haya Ana Aneka Prakasha Haya Vilasa Tara Nama. But when the numerous forms are slightly different from one another, they are called Vilas Vigrahas. Swarupam Anyakaram Yat Tashyapati Vilasataha Harinatma Samang Sakya Evilas Nigatyate. When the Lord displays numerous forms with different features by His inconceivable potency, such forms are called Vilas Vigrahas. This is another quotation from the Lagu Bhagavatamrita 1.15. Yaiche Baladeva Parvyome Narayana Yaiche Vasudeva Prajumnadi Sankoshana. Examples of such Vilas Vigrahas are Baladev, Narayan and Vaikuntha Dham, and the Chatur Vyuha, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Prajuna, and Aniruddha. These are all Vishnu forms. The Vishnu forms have, they're basically the same, but the Vishnu forms who appear on different Vaikuntha planets, they can be identified or distinguished because of the hands that they hold their different items in. So the Lord Vishnu always has a disc, he always has a conch shell, he always has a, what else? Lotus flower, and we named that already. The club, the mace they call it. So he has these four items, but he holds them for different planets. He's holding them in different hands. So there's upper hands, the lower hands, and so he's holding the Sushana chakra here. So they just hold it down here, like that. There's distinctions like that, different combinations. Yaiche Baladeva Parvyome Narayana Yaiche Vasudeva Prajumnadi Sankushana. Examples of such Vilas Vigrahas are Baladeva, Narayan and Vaikuntha Dham and the Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Prajuna, and Aniruddha. Ishwarera Shakti Haya Etina Prakar Eka Lakshmi Gana Puri Mahisha Gana Ar Raje Gopi Gana Ara Sabate Pradana Rajendra Nandana Yate Swayam Bhagavan. The energies, consorts, of the Supreme Lord are of three kinds. The Lakshmis in Vaikuntha, the Queens in Dwarka, and the Gopis in Vrindavan. The Gopis are the best of all, for they have the privilege of serving Sri Krishna, the primeval Lord, the son of the king of Braja. Swayam Rupe Krishnera Kaya Vyuha Tanrasam Bhakta Sahite Haya Tanhara Avaram. The personal associates of the primeval Lord, Sri Krishna, are his devotees who are identical with him. He is complete with his entourage of devotees. Purport. Sri Krishna and his various personal expansions are non-different in potential power. These expansions are associated with further secondary expansions or servitor expansions who are called devotees. Bhakta Adi Kami Kaila Sabara Vandana E Sabara Vandana Sarva Shubhera Karana. Now I have worshipped all the various levels of devotees. Worshipping them is the source of all good fortune. Purport. To offer prayers to the Lord, one should first offer prayers to his devotees and associates. So, Pratama Shloke Kahi Samanya Mangalacharana Vitiya Shloke Te Kari Vileshe Vandana. In the first verses, I have invoked a general benediction, but in the second, I have prayed to the Lord in a particular form. Sure, see if somebody does send a comment, I can see it as it's happening. Brajay Vihara Purve Krishna Balaram Koti Sura Chandra Jini Donhara Nijadam Say Dui Jagatere Haya Sadaya Gola Deshi Purva Saile Karila Udaya. Sri Krishna and Balaram, the personalities of Godhead, who have formerly appeared in Vrindavan and were millions of times more effulgent than the sun and moon, have arisen over the eastern horizon of Kotadesh, West Bengal, being compassionate for the fallen state of the world. That's referring to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda appearing. Krishna and Balaram, who appeared before, is now appearing again as Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Ara Prabhu Nityananda Yudhara Prakashe Save Jagat Ananda. The appearance of Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda has surcharged the world with happiness. Surya Chandra Hari Yaiche Save Andakar Vastu Prakashya Kare Navira Prachar Emata Dui Bai Jivera Agyana Tamu Nashakari Kaya Tattva Vastu Dana. As the sun and moon drive away darkness by their appearance and reveal the nature of everything, these two brothers dissipate the darkness of ignorance covering the living beings and enlighten them with knowledge of the absolute truth. Akina Tamara Nama Kahile Kaitava Dharma Artha Kama Moksha Vancha Adi Sabha. The darkness of ignorance is called Kaitava, the way of cheating, which begins with religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Jai Shri Shri Gauritai, Shri Shri Radha, Vraja Bihari, Jagannath, Balaram, Lady Subhadra, and Shringade Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Dharma prochita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam Vidyam vastavam atravastu shivanam tapatrayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krate Vingvapara Ishtwara Sajovrid Avarujate Pritibhishashushtibish Takshanat. That's the very first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Quote, the great scripture Srimad Bhagavatam, compiled by Mahamuni Vyasadeva from four original verses, describes the most elevated and kind-hearted devotees and completely rejects the cheating ways of materially motivated religiosity. It propounds the highest principle of eternal religion, which can factually mitigate the threefold miseries of a living being and award the highest benediction of full prosperity and knowledge. Those willing to hear the message of the scripture in a submissive attitude of service can at once capture the Supreme Lord in their hearts. Therefore, there is no need for any scripture other than the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this first verse is actually, this is not the first verse, the second verse. First verse establishes Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the second verse establishes the glorious position of the Srimad Bhagavatam itself. So this is the second verse. Purport. We have a long purport here. This verse appears in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, second verse. The words Mahamuni Krite indicate that Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva, who is sometimes known as Narayan Mahamuni, because he is an incarnation of Narayan. Vyasadeva, therefore, is not an ordinary man, but is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He compiled the beautiful Bhagavatam to narrate some of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, a distinction between real religion and pretentious religion has been clearly made. According to this original and genuine commentation on the Vedanta Sutra, there are innumerable pretentious faiths that pass as religion but neglect the real essence of religion. The real religion of the living being is his natural inborn quality, whereas the pretentious religion is a form of nescience that artificially covers a living entity's pure consciousness under certain unfavorable conditions. Real religion lies dormant when artificial religion dominates from the mental plane. Real religion lies dormant when the artificial religion dominates from the mental plane. A living being can awaken this dormant religion by hearing with a pure heart. The path of religion prescribed by Srimad Bhagavatam is different from all forms of imperfect religiosity. Religion can be considered in the following three divisions. The path of fruit of work, the path of knowledge and mystic powers, and three, the path of worship and devotional service. The path of fruit of work, karmakanda, even when decorated by religious ceremonies, meant to elevate one's material condition, is a cheating process, because it can never enable one to gain relief from material existence and achieve the highest goal. A living entity perpetually struggles hard to rid himself of the pangs of material existence, but the path of fruitive work leads him to other temporary happiness or temporary distress in the material world, material existence. By pious fruitive work, one is placed in a position where he can temporarily feel material happiness, whereas vicious activities lead him to a distressful position of material want and scarcity. However, even if one is put into the most perfect situation of material happiness, he cannot in that way become free from the pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease. A materially happy person is therefore in need of the eternal relief that mundane religiosity in terms of food and work can never award. So, I'll explain a little bit. What's the difference between this pretentious religion and real religion? Why is this pretentious religion called cheating religion? The Srimad Bhagavatam kicks out all cheating religion. Nobody? So, the explanation is, Srila Prabhupada explains it a little bit here, and he'll explain more probably as the purport goes on. In Vedic culture, most people at any one time were not really interested in dedicating their life to bhakti yoga. Most people are interested in fruitive activities, just making better arrangements for more material enjoyment in some way or other. So there was a system: religiosity, economic development. This is what's called cheating religion. Religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and then when you get frustrated with all that, then liberation, which is probably going to be impersonal liberation. So, but that's cheating, because in the name of religious principles, in the name of being religious, and it is religious in a sense because it's following the instructions of the Vedas, but in the name of being following religious principles, the one is in the name of following religious principles one is just striving for sense gratification, perform certain sacrifices, worship certain demigods. There are different methods. Much of the Vedas is all about those things, because that's what most people in Vedic culture are interested in. So you practice so many things, so many religious activities, but for the purpose of material gain, not for the purpose of learning to love God. So that's religious, but it's a cheating religion. And then, by performing those religious activities, then a person starts getting some material benefits. So you have economic development. You worship the demigods, you do different things, and then you start getting some money. And then when you start having money, you start having facility, then you think, oh, now I can do what I always wanted to do. Now I can enjoy some sense gratification. I have money, I can enjoy. So religiosity, then you get some money, then you engage in sense gratification. But ultimately, the desire to enjoy sense gratification is short-lived. You can never actually get satisfied that way, not really. So in the end, the person will say, okay, I've had enough of this, I'm frustrated like anything, and therefore I will now I'm going to strive for liberation. And if one's hasn't been familiar with, the devotional service to the Lord, but if one's not familiar with the devotional service to the Lord, then that liberation will probably be striving to merge in the Brahmajyoti, like that. So ultimately it's actually a cheating religion, because in the name of following religious principles, you're just engaging in sense gratification. So real religion, Srimad Bhagavatam kicks out all that whole pretentious religious idea. In fact, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, give up all varieties of religion and surrender to me, and I'll protect you from all sinful reactions. That's what he's referring to. All the cheating religions. He doesn't say, you can't. If you're in modern times, we have Christianity, Judaism, all that. These are religions, which are supposed to teaching love of God and devotion to God. It's not saying give up all that. It's saying give up the idea of performing religious principles for the purpose of material gain. So give up all that and simply surrender to me. That means engage in my devotional service, and then we can become free from all sinful reactions. Then we get purified, and then we can go back to the spiritual world. It's like that. I think everyone's tired today. So maybe we'll just stop here, and we'll continue where we left off next Sunday. Any questions? Comments? Okay, so we'll end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.